On January 7th, 2020...
Hello, brothers and sisters, welcome to my page. Welcome to your doom. In which I talk about common sense. I try to keep it down under the nitty-gritty under 10 minutes. And if it goes over 10 minutes, something very, very, very important. And not important to liberals, libertards, people who believe in God, people like to smoke, people like to drink, people like ayahuasca, people like DMT. Listeners' discretion is advised. Listeners' discretion is advised. I'm a sadist and a Satanist. And if you don't know what those two terminologies mean, ask the question. Okay, I like chaos and destruction, but I don't cause it. But you can call yourself chaos and destruction if you defame my character, who I am, okay? But, of course, if you have any comments, questions, insults, or roast fest, you put it down below, okay? This video is going to be about the face of a stone-cold killer. But, of course, you don't know this because, as I said before, it was one of my past videos, the number one killers in the world are women, okay, not men. Though men kill at war all the time. Yeah, sure, millions and billions in all of the history of time. Women indirectly cause these wars, but they don't know that sometimes. Do you think? What do you think? What about abortions, okay? Nobody talks about abortions. Nobody talks about the crime rate that comes out of a mother's womb and shit. But, of course, we should know that's common sense factor. You know why wars are created, okay? It's many different factors. But the feminine attribute, okay, which is mostly emotional, causes the problems in the first place. But anyway, I digress. I'm not going to go too far with the pathology and technology of it, okay? Technicality of it. But just look at this heinous motherfucking video here. I will put down the link in the description box. But I'm not going to watch the whole goddamn video. I have a right to show this video. It's not copyrighted at all. I'm not trying to be copyrighted and make any profit off of this. I'm just doing commentary. But this is the face of a murderer. And most of the time, it's a woman who is the coldest and the most lighthearted, nonchalant face you can ever see. Okay? All right? So please, look at this video. The watcher's listener's discretion is advised. Okay, let me just reply back to her. All right. So please, guys, if you want to know what a real killer looks like, look at this shit. I'm not talking about a psychopath in jail, okay, like the iceberg killer or anybody, or Jeffrey Dahmer, okay, or fucking Ted Bundy, or Charles Manson here. Just look at how many times a woman can be a murderer by doing this heinous act. And you will understand. I'm not your average man to show you this. Okay? Far more deadbeat mothers than deadbeat daddies. But, you want to take my word for it. Let's go.
At nearly 8 p.m., 3 dumpster divers outside of a JCPenney's in New Mexico made a startling discovery. Here you see the divers huddled around a black trash bag. What you can't hear is the whining that was coming from the bag. The dumpster divers, April Meadow, Hector Jusso, and Michael Green, believed the pitiful noise had to be a whining cat or dog, something that may have climbed into the dumpster accidentally. Instead, they're horrified by the truth of what they found. A living, breathing baby boy wrapped in a trash bag was left in that dumpster to die. Still smeared in its mother's blood with its umbilical cord intact, this child had no chance of survival after being abandoned. Upon finding the child, April Meadow was seen rushing off camera with the child in her grasp, wiping it off with the towel it was wrapped in. The crew called law enforcement shortly after this, all the while wondering who could do something like this.
Hello, 911?
Yes, we just found the baby in the trash. We had just found the infant child.
Is it breathing?
In the goddamn trash. Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Goddamn trash.
Hello, yes, ma'am. Can you tell me about the baby?
I will be furious.
He still got his umbilical cord and he's freezing cold. And he's very, he's drained. He's very, very, very weak.
The police were on the scene quickly. The same surveillance footage from roughly 6 hours earlier than when the baby was found shows a white 4-door Volkswagen Jetta pulling into a nearly empty parking lot and stopping.
This is why it's important to pull out your camera when something happens. Pull it out immediately. Don't say shit. Just pull it out and say, hey, I'm walking away from you. Take a step towards me. I'm going to jack you, okay? That's it. Just record first. Before you do anything, You need surveillance, peoples. There's emotional people out there, EDBs. They don't have thoughts for your safety or nothing else. They don't care. They only care about themselves. They're the biggest narcissists in the world. Okay? It's terrible motherfucking shit, man. And especially those people who like to hurt animals and dogs and cats. Nah, you can't live after that, dog. You can't live after that, okay? But, to each his own. Let's continue the video.
In front of a line of 3 large green dumpsters. A woman exits the driver's side door and opens the back passenger door. She then grabs a black bag from the back and casually throws it into the open dumpster on the far right, before hastily getting back into the vehicle and driving away.
She's not even close.
The entire incident only takes 30 seconds, but the damage has been done. It's too late to take it back. The alleged driver of that car, Alexis Avila, 18, is seen here, waiting for questioning. Brought in only a little while after the baby was recovered from the dumpster, Alexis is seated against the wall, giving her the feeling that she is trapped and has nowhere to go. The following interrogation has been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed attorney and former criminal prosecutor, a licensed clinical psychologist, a psychologist trainee, and an individual with a Master of Science in Clinical Psychology.
Can I have some toilet paper for my nose? Sorry.
Yeah.
Just
a minute.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. That's the closest thing I found. Alright, so let's get in place. I'm Daniel Pez. I'm an investigator here at the hospital department. Right. What is your name?
Alexis.
Alexis. What is your full name?
Alexis and Claudia.
Okay. So before I do ask you any questions, okay, I do per policy and procedure, I read everybody their rights. It doesn't mean anything other than me, making you aware of your rights and you understanding your rights. Does that make any sense? Okay. Do you need any medical attention though before we start? No? Are you okay?
Yeah.
So, there are bulletins. I'm going to read you each bulletin. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any point, okay? So, of course, you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to say anything at all. Anything you do say can be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand that part? All right.
As soon as she sits down, the detective reads Alexis the Miranda rights. In doing so, he is assured that later on Alexis can't say she didn't understand her rights. The detective is also extremely careful in downplaying the Miranda rights, because this usually means that the suspect is less likely to request a lawyer, especially if they're young.
You know what else do I do?
If you wish to talk to me or not, you can just initial yes or no.
Alexis seems polite and cooperative. Her tone of voice is soft-spoken. The fact that she moves the paper towel on the table when the investigator spoke, and she maintains eye contact are all indications of respect for authority and a willingness to cooperate.
Right, so I know there's a lot, okay, to talk about, and I just want to ask you, why you think you're here, or what led us to us being here, right? Obviously, I do know information, and the last thing I want to do is, to start off on the wrong foot, and for you to start, lying. So there's always two sides to the story. Obviously, I'm looking at a evidence standpoint, what we were called out to. I don't know what you're going through. If you're going through anything, we're all humans. Before me being a detective, I'm a father.
I'm looking for
son and stuff like that. We're all human. It doesn't matter what rank we have or how old we are. All right, and that's why, I asked you to come out here and give me your side of the story. Okay, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to question you. I'm not here to accuse you. I'm not here to, belittle you. That's not what I do. That's not my job. So my job is to investigate, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
You can judge them.
So, if you can,
seen something.
I would kindly ask you just to tell me the truth, and we'll go from there, okay?
Don't judge him in a way.
The detective is playing nice here by claiming that he's just doing his job, that he understands there are multiple sides to every story, and all he wants is to hear out hers. With a suspect who is timid and young like this one, this is the approach most officers will use, as being aggressive and confrontational will likely make her shut down and less likely to talk to him. More than anything else, the detective wants her to feel safe. He's trying to lull her into a false sense of security. The hope is that she will confess to the alleged crime, as a confession is one of the most important pieces of evidence law enforcement can get. It's extremely difficult to challenge a confession in court, as more often than not, it's all that's needed to convict a suspect.
So you want to tell me what's going on or what happened today or what led to this?
I mean, I can tell you, but I need you to ask because then I can't tell you because I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Notice that Alexis says that the only way she can tell him what happened is if he asks her questions about it, which most likely indicates that she has a rehearsed story ready to go. She's using the questions as a guide to keep her story straight. Further, detectives often ask open-ended questions to elicit narratives. While providing narrative responses, suspects are more likely to share contextual detail and less likely to lie without being detected. This contrasts with close-ended questions that would produce shorter responses, such as yes or no. Her cooperation with questioning seems genuine, not forced or feigned. In interrogations where the suspect seems to have antisocial personality disorder, or APD, they are sometimes compliant, but it often seems almost unnatural. Like they're doing it for their own good, because they're in an interrogation, so it's in their best interest to be cooperative. However, as the interrogation gets more stressful, people with APD often start to show their defiance towards authority. They often become irritable or angry. But Alexis's cooperative attitude doesn't appear to be faked just for the sake of the interrogation circumstance. It's important to note that Alexis has not been formally diagnosed with any psychological disorder.
So, obviously I got confirmation that you were pregnant, okay? Right.
I found that out yesterday.
You found that out yesterday?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Alexis states that she found out she was pregnant yesterday. This is a detail the interviewer didn't ask for. When a suspect offers up additional information without being asked, the information given is most likely false. Alexis most likely rehearsed this answer and wants to make sure it's on the record before they move on.
So tell me a little bit more about that.
What do you, like?
So how is it that you found out, or how?
Well, I've been having back pain, like, really bad, and I got in an accident.
One thing I don't like about these psychological evaluations is that if someone's fast to give you the answer, regardless if it's false or not, okay, that don't always make it false, okay? But depends on statistics, okay, that you need to dwell a little bit more further into that. Usually when someone gives you an answer straight out, it's any you off the street, or if they just come just surprisingly to pick you up, most of the time it's the truth, okay? They just kind of twist it a little bit so there'll be some sort of avoidance. If they're trying to tell the truth, they're trying to tell lies around the truth, okay? You're just going to have to pick out which ones they are. Deductive reasoning, okay?
September of 2021.
Okay.
2 years ago. And I just thought that's what it was. And, I mean, the pain comes and goes, and so I didn't really think anything much of it.
What is she talking about?
And it just kept hurting, and so my mom took me to the ER, and they just said that I had some kind of spray, and I don't even know what kind it was. And they just gave me medicine for it, and it wasn't helping.
Okay.
But I still didn't think anything much of it. I gave them my urine sample and see if for infection or anything. There was nothing, I guess, I don't know. And then I just kept hurting, and so I went to the clinic, and they did a urine sample, and they told me I was pregnant, and that's when I found out.
You said it was yesterday?
Yesterday.
And where did you go? What clinic? What hospital?
The one on Del Paso.
Del Paso? Okay, which one? Lee?
I'm just assuming that if you're going through all that pain and all that time, she's probably in labor. She was just most likely pain tolerant, because you can't just be pregnant and then just, she was probably pain tolerant. She was feeling the contractions and everything. She just felt that pain. She was just walking upright. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how did you get up like that? She looked like she wasn't even trying. She took that bag and threw it right in the trash. She's just completely on the fucking camera. And if you're in that much pain and you just did that just prior one day, I'm like, wow. There are women who love to get pregnant just for the pain of it, just for the sexual gratifications with it. And that's rare. But it does happen, okay? It's weird, okay? But it does happen. But we're going to listen to a little bit more of this video, but I don't want to get too far in it. But this is the face of a killer, most likely so. You can watch the whole thing if you want, okay? But there are women out there who are just cold-blooded killers, mostly abortionists. And a lot of times, nobody wants to talk about it. But we'll talk about 1 more minute, and we'll get off this video, because it's kind of boring, okay? There was some pausing and stuff and interrogation. But let's continue.
Okay.
The one under construction.
All right. Who took you?
Myself. My parents were at work.
Your parents were at work?
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe your mom said that she had accompanied you, or she took you, or she went with you?
No, she didn't.
Okay.
I went by myself.
Alexis sticks with the story that she found out she was pregnant yesterday. She goes so far as to say that she took a urine test at the ER, but nothing came back. This is either false, since a urine test would show a woman is pregnant, or she was in the ER early in her first trimester. Since she said she was in the ER recently, both seem unlikely. The back pain was likely contractions, but it's highly unlikely that she just found out she was pregnant because pregnancy has countless symptoms that would have shown themselves long before actually having to deliver the child.
So, as I mentioned you before anything, I like to speak, with the truth. Obviously, okay, I spoke to some people.
Guilty.
And I know that back in March, is when you spoke to some people and you told them that you were pregnant. So you had prior knowledge, right? So I'm not going to...
Back in March?
Right, Somebody by the name of Walker, do you know anybody, a friend of yours, a school friend of yours that I spoke with? And she's the one that told me that...
That's enough, guys. I'm not going to go through this whole video. Because it's boring, okay? It's boring. Okay? Other than that, that's the face of a killer. If she is guilty, I don't know, okay? That's her face. You see, I'm just looking at that woman who got out of that car, which they probably will come up with a little later on. Do you own this type of car? I think that should be the first thing, okay? Do you own this car? Okay, and she say yes. Go with the obvious things first, okay? And then go backwards. And the other things about how you're feeling and all that stuff, it's a waste of time. I don't like some of the interrogation tactics, okay? But other than that, that's all I really got to say about this. The face of a killer is right there. Maybe so, okay? But I'm not saying for 100% sure, because I haven't watched the whole thing. But there are women. My whole point here is I think women are the bigger murderers, directly and indirectly. Because if we have wars in the world, there's not enough men getting enough love. It's that simple, baby. It's that simple. Not enough men getting enough love. Other than that, I'm out of here, guys. I love you all, but I hate the many of you. Because I'm not your average man. I'm not your Peter Pan. Peace, deuces.